Hello and welcome to Tech Contracts for Salespeople. I'm David Tollen, your instructor. I want to start with a short story from my own experience. I'm a lawyer, among other things. Years ago, I was getting ready for a contract negotiation representing a technology company, and I had a chat with the salesperson involved in the deal before we launched negotiation. And I reminded him that we've got some difficult terms in the standard contract, some stuff that technology customers generally don't like. So I said it might be a bumpy ride. The salesperson surprised me. He said that he had already shown the contract to the customer, in fact, early in the process, and he'd walked them through some of those more difficult terms. He didn't promise me that we were going to get through all of them and get everything we wanted, but he said, they get it. I've explained why we need that stuff, and they're looking at it and thinking about it. My reaction to that was not initially very positive. I thought, what is he doing that? That's my job. I'm supposed to show them the contract, walk them through the terms, explain anything. What if he got it wrong? But that is not what happened. In fact, when we got into the negotiations, they went unusually smoothly. The other side was not offended by some of the tougher terms we had. In fact, they had really thought about them. There was some back and forth and some push and pull, and we didn't get every single thing we wanted, but we got the contract done. We got it done in an unusually good time and without any of the tension that sometimes comes up over those more difficult terms. That was the first time I'd run into a salesperson who contributed so much to the process of negotiating legal terms. But it wasn't the last. In fact, as time went on, I started to run into a fair number of these salespeople who, as I call it, kind of could walk on water. They had really strong sales skills, and they combined that with an understanding of legal terms. In fact, it really was part of the sales process for them to explain legal terms to the customer, to help the customer work through difficult terms, sometimes to even act as a mediator between the lawyers and contract managers and the customer, because they understood the contract. So that's the goal of this course. It's to teach you to work in exactly that way and to get your deals done faster and easier as a result. And part of what that requires is a mindset shift, is to look at the contract as a deal closer. And really, it's helpful to think it through this way. You're negotiating the contract from the start. We don't often think of it that way, but when you are putting together your sale and working on, for instance, what the product is, what the price is, delivery stuff, delivery timelines, you're negotiating a contract. All that's going to go into the contract. And in fact, you are essentially selling a contract. So understanding the terms that you don't normally spend as much time on in the sales process, the quote unquote legal terms, adds to your toolkit for closing business. And actually, that phrase I use, legal terms, is in a way extremely unhelpful. There's really not such thing as commercial terms and legal terms in any contract. There are terms about business. It's all business issues. How much are we willing to risk? How much are we willing to spend if such and such happens? So look at your job as closing that deal, and that means closing all of the terms, getting agreement to everything that makes a part of the deal. That's really what I mean by contracting for sale mindset there on the slide. In fact, the famous phrase, always be closing, could as easily be called always be contracting, because you are always driving toward a signature on the contract. If you found this video useful, please come check out Tech Contracts for Salespeople. It's a course that teaches you to avoid contract sticker shock and negotiation delays and to avoid lost deals. And to do that, you don't need to become some kind of a junior lawyer. You just need to learn some basics on how contracts work and what their terms are about. Our course gives salespeople the tools to close more reliably by selling the contract, to explain, to smooth over differences between and communications between legal and the customer, and to close. And it's all in simple, clear English. Tech Contracts for Salespeople is a 3-hour course that's recorded and on demand if you want to learn individually and at your own pace. And it's also available in-house as a live program for your whole sales organization, either as a standard program or as a course that's customized to meet your team's particular needs. So please check it out at techcontracts.com under the courses tab, or just click on the link below.